Look familiar? Every day throughout our island state, residents and our visitors are sitting in traffic somewhere. Sometimes our roadways are paralyzed by an accident, a stalled vehicle, or just too many people traveling by car going in the same direction at the same time. Here in Hawaii, we love our cars, trucks, and vans, but most of the time, we're enjoying them alone. One person behind the wheel driving to work, doing an errand, on the way somewhere. Our collective gas tank climbs to nearly 500 million gallons of gasoline a year. Our usage may go up or down depending on the price at the pump, but there's a lot at stake if we don't reduce that 500 million gallons by more than half within the next 20 years. Perhaps that goal, part of the transportation component within Hawaii's Clean Energy Initiative, will be one of our most crucial accomplishments if Hawaii is to achieve energy independence.
It has to start now, and the decisions and the investments and the lessons that we learn today are part of the building blocks necessary for, the 20 or 30 year from now success or costs that you face. And since we have no control over oil prices, that's a very vulnerable type of position to be in. I think a lot of folks, when they go fill up their car, they look at how much it costs and they get mad. I'm a little bit beyond that. I'm just glad we actually have the fuel, because one of the concerns is, what if the fuel wasn't there?
And that's another consideration. It was reported recently the chief financial officer of Tesoro Corporation said the company is looking at alternatives for its Hawaii refinery. Tesoro and Chevron operate Hawaii's only refineries. They import crude oil that's processed at their Oahu facilities and distributed statewide. What would happen if one or both of these companies decided to make a change?
One of the questions we're wrestling with is, how much would people be willing or able to pay for the fuel before it became a huge problem? And what happens if there isn't the fuel that we need?
Tonight we'll look at what are considered to be the transportation pathways, or the roadmap for taking back control of our energy security, as well as environmental and financial future.
This state, all the people of Hawaii, we are committed now to this Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative of 70% by 2030. This is a piece of that puzzle. It's not just about solar photovoltaic systems or wind farms, this is an important part of this. And that what I would hope is that everybody feels a part of that, trying to achieve that goal.
When we come back, we'll start with public transportation on Oahu. The bus continues to impress and surprise experts nationally by winning awards and posting some of the highest ridership statistics in the country. But it's also the second highest user of gasoline in our state, and it's been hit hard financially by the increase in fuel prices. We'll take you to one of the 24/7 operations that keeps this 500-plus bus system at the top of its game, and we'll find out what's planned for the future. Biodiesel. You might be able to start using it today with your current vehicle. We'll check on that. And yes, the hybrids, the plug-in hybrids, EVs, hydrogen, we'll sort all of that out for you too. But first, meet some of the keiki from the Sunshine School in Kailua. They're already committed to public transportation. We met them while they waited for the bus to transport them to Windward Mall, where they plan to get around on the Cubby Caboose, the mall's mass transit trolley ride for keiki. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I ride the bus every day from Kailua. I like to say, what's Hawaii's other 100 to 200 mile per gallon vehicle? Well, the bus. When you put 40 or 50 people on that vehicle, you can get well over 100 to 150, 200 miles to the passenger mile per gallon. And so maintaining a healthy and vibrant transit bus system is really integral to everything, to what we're doing.
We had a milestone last month. We had 11,000 miles between road calls. The national average is about maybe 4,000 to 5,000. The success of our program is this quality assurance section. What this section does, every repair that comes out of this division goes through this section to be double and triple checked.
Recently, Reuters news service said Honolulu is the big kahuna for commuting on public transit. That's a catchy headline, but our public transit system is modestly branded the bus. In May of this year, the Brookings Institution ranked the top 100 metro areas by how efficiently their transit systems connect people with their places of employment. Honolulu came out on top, ahead of New York City, San Francisco, LA, and Washington, D.C.
We have a lot of service in Hawaii that's on the street. We have a high level of service, and we also have one of the best places in the world to operate transit because our development patterns are all along central corridors. For the most part, we have big employment areas in Waikiki and downtown and UH.
The Brookings study didn't consider ridership. According to a study prepared by the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum in 2009, ridership of the bus increased about 6% when gas prices soared in 2008. But the study also showed that more than 50% of the Oahu respondents said nothing would motivate them to take a bus. Despite those findings, ridership of Honolulu's bus system reflects one of the highest per capita rankings in the country. The fleet of about 80 hybrid and more than 500 diesel buses carries about 230,000 riders daily. Some routes have more ridership than light rail systems in some mainland cities. And since we see the bus everywhere, from downtown Honolulu to Makaha to the North Shore, the daily vehicle mileage runs about 80,000 miles. That translates into a lot of fuel usage, 5.5 million gallons a year, or 2 tanker trunks per day. New hybrid technology and alternative fuels are both being considered.
In fact, we have a grant that we've applied for and received called the Tigger Grant. And we're going to be experimenting. We have $5.1 million that we can use to buy some buses that can test this concept out, mainly in our very urban congested core. So I think those are the kinds of things we're looking at. We're also looking at moving into biodiesel. What we're really excited about is the stuff that's occurring on the Big Island in terms of not producing only just what we call biodiesel for cooking oil, but really synthetic diesel. And we think that these may have some promise in terms of displacing the imported oil that we have to bring in. Roger and his outfit run a great system right now. And what's the constraint for them is that they have a very congested corridor that our buses get tangled up in, as well as all the vehicles. And with the rail, what that does is that it gives a really reliable form of transportation through that congested corridor. And so then the bus system can focus on getting people to the rail and helping to augment the rail.
A lot of people are very surprised when they hear that Hawaii actually has the 4th highest per capita transit ridership in the country. And we're the only system in the top 10 that doesn't have a rail system. So I think that with a rail system, once we get that and we can get our central corridor with fast, efficient transit, we're going to fill up those trains and buses when we have those in a few years.
As rail comes online in the central corridor, it will free up a lot of our buses that are currently being used in the corridor itself for trunk line and make them more available to other areas of the island that have been asking for more service, such as Windward, Leeward, Central. We talk to the people about the future and how it could be. I think it is about quality of life, because if you talk to the people who are stuck in traffic, that's what they complain about. And I think all these transportation improvements, not only bus, not only rail, but we're talking about the complete package of multimodal transportation, the pedestrian, bikes, and the autos, of course, when appropriate. All that working together along with transit-oriented development, which actually creates the environment where you don't need to travel very much to get what you need. And I think all those things together, with all the agencies working together, the bottom line goal is quality of life.
Coming up next, we'll look at another option that works with public transportation in Europe, as well as other U.S. cities. High-tech bike sharing has come to Hawaii, and they're here. All those new model energy-efficient vehicles. Which one might be your next car? Stay with us and check them out.
I was surprised at the amount of torque. in my mind, I had this thing about electric cars, you know, these little wind-up kind of things. You know, this car is amazing how fast you can go right from a dead stop. And we're just having a ball. The biggest problem we're having is me fighting to get my turn to drive the car.
Just come to the dock with the card, just press the silver button to wake up the dock. Then you just swipe the card over it, and then it releases the bike. So you take the bike out. There are actually only 2 providers in North America for high-tech bike sharing systems. And it's really important to be high-tech. I think the technology now really allows for a successful system. And then it asks if you'd like to rent a bike.
Wen Lei saw how successful this type of bike sharing system worked with public transportation in Paris and cities like Washington, D.C. and Denver. To get startup funding, he wrote an impressive grant proposal for the Department of Health Tobacco Settlement Funding.
Bike sharing, it just enhances the effectiveness of the public transit system. And the bike is ready to roll.
If you go to the Hawai'i B-Cycle website, you can become a member, which means your first half hour is free. The idea is to come into town by bus or car and use the bike for short trips, reducing traffic and saving money on fuel and parking. And it's fun and good exercise.
Bike sharing is just the perfect last mile solution that makes public transit work better for everyone. Hopefully this is one small step to just making people realize, hey, there's an alternative to cars, and especially for a short distance ride. And really, you know, the charges, if people are using the system properly, then it's almost always free to use.
Wen says with additional funding, Hawai'i B-Cycle plans to expand in Kailua and explore opportunities in Haleiwa, Ko'olina, and UH Manoa. Go to hawaii.bcycle.com for more information.
I think throughout this century, you're going to see everything. We already see battery electric vehicles hitting the market. So yes, we'll see EVs. Hybrids, which have been out there for some time, that's going to continue. We're also now starting to see plug-in hybrids. So now you've got a little bit bigger battery pack. Hydrogen vehicles will be there, you know, fuel cell vehicles, they're coming out, and we're certainly not going to get rid of the gasoline-powered vehicles anytime soon.
Earlier, we mentioned that as a state, we have to cut the 500 million gallons of gasoline we use a year for ground transportation to about 150 million gallons by 2030. Some of us will replace gasoline with alternative fuels. Some of us will buy a flex fuel vehicle, a hybrid, EV, or hydrogen model. Car manufacturers say Hawaii is the perfect market for these vehicles. So how many of these new models will have to be purchased and on our roads if we're going to meet our transportation energy goals?
We did hundreds of calculations with all the information that we had from the manufacturers, with everything we could put onto the piece of paper. And years ago, we came up with the fact that we thought that 300 vehicles would sell in 2011, that's about when they would be introduced in late 2010 and 2011. I think it's going to come out to be that or a little bit better. Many of the cars that are purchased today will still be on the road, and that's why in those formulas it took a lot of hydrogen and electric vehicles on the roadways later on to help balance out in the formulas so that you could average all the vehicles 66 miles per gallon by 2030.
66 miles per gallon. That's the average we need to hit for all cars in our state by 2030. What can we do right now?
You've got a leader here in the state of Pacific Biodiesel who's generating biodiesel here locally and using it locally. The city and county of Honolulu use Pacific Biodiesel in their county fleet. Typically the diesel fuel is blended, a 20% blend. That goes into the diesel vehicles. And one of the cool things about that is it does not require any change to the vehicle technology. So those diesel vehicles that are out on the road today can adopt the biodiesel approach.
Although the military has been testing the hydrogen technology for a while, when will we see the public rollout for hydrogen vehicles?
2015 has appeared to be a target date. And that's coming from the likes of Toyota, Honda, Mercedes. I'm not sure that GM has signed up yet for the 2015 date, but they're certainly moving forward aggressively with fuel cell vehicles. Hyundai, Kia is also in that group.
Now we've got the Nissan Leafs are available here in Hawaii. We've got Mitsubishi coming. We have General Motors brought in their Volt as well. Toyota has their plug-in Prius, and a bunch of other manufacturers have brought vehicles to the auto show and will be selling vehicles soon to the public.
The state has a $4,500 rebate program for new, highway-capable or plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. The state is also offering a $500 rebate for the purchase and installation of each new electric charger. These state rebates are in addition to the federal tax incentive of up to $7,500. The state's rebate plan is subject to the availability of funds, so it's on a first-come, first-served basis. Ken Kelly of the U.S. Department of Energy says hundreds of public electric charging stations for EVs will be deployed over the next year, and the funding is from the Federal Recovery Act.
So over the next 6 to 9 months, we're going to see really a revolution happening on the ground with charging stations being deployed. It's an exciting time.
These early adopters, the people who are investing in this first-generation technology, are truly the heroes of this movement. All the glory and glitches are theirs to experience. While anyone can reserve a Leaf for $99, Hawaii is one of only 7 states where people can actually place orders. There have been reports of complaints about long waits for delivery and the installation of charging stations. When we come back, we'll hear from 2 early adopters. Before we go to break, though, State Senator Mike Gabbard has a story about how the perks of ownership got him to work on time.
Got in the zipper lane, and it took me like 15 minutes to get into town from there. I never would have made it. If you own an electric car, there's no limit in terms of in the HOV lanes, zipper or HOV lanes. Second thing is, no parking fees at parking meters or any state and county owned parking lot.
Well, right now we're updating our hybrid training, and it's more of a general training. It's not specific to any one company or a type of EV or hybrid car. So at this point in time, there's not a large demand for that, but as the demand increases and there's more need for the training, we're able to offer the non-credit training in the evenings for those type of non-dealership type mechanics.
We were asked who was training Hawaii's independent mechanics on all this new technology. Of course, our community college system is on it. Staff trainers are visiting community colleges in Washington state to work on shared curriculum. They'll be ready for your favorite neighborhood mechanic when he or she is ready for the training. Now we'll hear from 2 people, 2 early adopters. First, we'll hear from Sharon Moriwaki, one of the executive producers of this program. She was one of the eager, well-informed people who ordered her Nissan Leaf months ago. She can't take delivery yet because of a problem with the installation of her charging system. If you live in a condo or townhouse complex and are thinking about getting an EV, Sharon's story will be of interest to you.
So you want to come home right with your vehicle off the lot. Not so, and especially not so if you're a condo owner. You have to go to your board, make sure your board understands, your condo board association has to approve it. That means you have to get the city to approve it. You have to look at a good electrician who's able to work with your board and be able to then put your charger near your stall where your car is parked and get it to your electrical unit. Depending on how far that is, that may cost a lot more than just a couple $100.
Sharon's situation is her parking stall is located at 300 feet away from the power supply. So we had to run a long conduit.
So you want to check into all of these things before you make your first decision to buy.
So it makes it a long run for her, extra expense and stuff.
But it's a great car.
When we spoke with the City and County Permitting Office and the State Energy Office, they are aware of the challenges with condo associations. Since every situation will be slightly different, this will take a while to resolve. We wish Sharon the best as she tries to navigate through this process. Ray Starling is another early adopter having a completely different experience. About a year and a half ago, he invested in a photovoltaic system for his single-family home. He's had his Leaf just a couple of months.
Well, basically, I feel a sense of pride when I drive down the street, knowing that I have given up my Forerunner, which is now, by today's standards, a gas guzzler, and I've traded it for an EV that I charge solely with sun power.
Ray will show you how he's able to monitor his net zero household energy use, and that includes charging his EV during off-peak hours, 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. for a discounted rate. But before we get back to Ray, there's a lot of information on the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum website. You can go to the forum's website directly or click through from hawaiinewsnow.com. We hope you'll be watching for our next show in August on energy efficiency. There are some terrific new ideas. For now, on behalf of our partner, the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, and all of us here at Hawaii News Now, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. Now, back to Ray Starling.
This is just a special meter that I have on my house, and in fact our program now is giving rebates for people who want to put meters on their house that tell them what they're doing real time as opposed to what they are doing at the end of 30 days, which is when you get your bill each month. I wanted to show you this because you can see when I charge my Leaf, it's this red area here. This line right here shows exactly what we're using, and it's a little less than 4 kilowatts, and it takes me driving over the hill from my house to here and back is about 25 miles round trip, and it takes me about a little over 2 hours to recharge my battery. I don't run it down anywhere close to the bottom. I basically charge it and have it ready to go the next day. So when I come home, I plug it in. See, I plugged in at about 9 o'clock last night and charged it a little over 2 hours, from about 9 to 11:15 last night, and then it shut off. And that charge was a little bit less than 4 kilowatts times 2 hours. That's about 8, maybe 8 or 9 kilowatt hours of power to get me over the hill and back. And that's it, basically.